Now, so far, everything we've had the jQuery do has happened right after the page loads. So this function makes sure that the page loads first and then it executes. And as soon as it's loaded, it just goes in order from top to bottom and does exactly what it is here that we asked it to do. So that's not always what you want to have happen, right? Sometimes you want to have control over that. Well, we can also do, in jQuery, we can also do events, right? And we can do event listeners. And so that's what we're going to want to do. Let's create a click event on this button. So we're going to do an event, an event listener. Then we need to access the element itself. And in this case, again, CSS selectors in the parentheses. This one we want the button. And we can just use button because it's the only one. And there we've only got one. It does have an ID, so we could use an ID if we wanted to. Let me show you how that works. So button will get it because there's only one. But if you wanted to be specific, if you had more than one button, then you could do, in CSS, we use the hashtag for IDs. And we can put fireworks. And then that will match that. So there's that ID equals fireworks. So now we can access that element. And now what we want to do is we want to add a click listener. And the way that you do that in jQuery is to do .click. Remember in JavaScript we used document.getElement by ID fireworks, right? And .add event listener. And so this is doing it for us. So notice all those things we would have written in JavaScript. In jQuery, it's shorter. And jQuery then translates to that JavaScript that we would have used. It's just shorter to do. Okay, so we want to do that. And now again, inside here, we put the function that we want to have happen when that click event occurs. So we'll use an anonymous function. Open paren, close paren, and then use the curly braces. And now we've got this anonymous function and we can write whatever we want in here. So we're going to do another fade, but this time we're going to do it on all of the H2s. So before, remember, we did the slide up and slide down just on the Sue one. So if we want both the H2s, then we're going to use the selector H2. And we're going to do the fade out. And oh, I forgot my dot, H2 dot fade out, right? And I can do that and save it and refresh. Now notice all of those happen whenever we load because they're not protected by any function. But notice that the fade out didn't happen, right? And it won't happen until we click on fireworks and then it calls that event listener and those heading twos fade right out. And there they are. They're gone. How do we get them back? Well, we can refresh and then they're back. But we can also go back in and we already know how to do this, right? We know how to do fade in. And so we can go ahead and do that. We save that and we refresh. Those happen. Now when we click on the button, it faded out and faded in. Now let's do another thing to delay. Remember before on the fade out we put some speed, and this really talks about how long the fade actually takes to how much time it takes to actually do the fade. But we want to do something else. In this case, we want to fade out and then we want to fade back in, but we want to put a delay in here. And so it turns out with jQuery, you can chain functions together. So I want to do a .delay, so I just put it right there. And so this will say, ooh, on this element, do a delay of a certain time, and then do a fade in, and they're all chained together. So the selector .action, then .action. Okay, and they'll happen one at a time. So here in the delay, we can add milliseconds again. So here I'm going to put a 1700 millisecond And let's see how long that takes then to work. We do that and refresh, up, down, around. Now when we click on it, we have a fade out. It waits 700 milliseconds and fades back in. Now that fade back in is a little bit fast. I'd like to slow that down, so I'm going to add some milliseconds there. I'm going to say spend 1800 milliseconds fading back in. So we watch the things that happen when it first loads. Then when we click on this, it calls that click event, fades out, does the delay, and fades back in.